So we're looking at this stage, and let's talk about how these 4 stages play out in what I would refer to as a marketing funnel. Okay. The start of our marketing funnel, and this is just a hypothetical example. So let's say that we have 10,000 people out there that are doing a search on a search engine for something like what you might offer. Maybe it's project management, maybe it's personal enrichment classes, but they're doing some kind of a search. Or 10,000 people are receiving an email from your organization. Maybe these are past attendees. Or 10,000 people are doing a search and are seeing a pay-per-click ad or a banner ad about your organization. Okay? So this is our starting pool, and this would represent the awareness phase. Those 10,000 people are either getting an email or they're seeing an ad. Now, they may not stare at it because there's going to be lots of other ads or search results on the page, but at least your search result or your ad is being put in front of 10,000 people, right? Out of those 10,000 people, 200 of them end up either clicking a link in the email, clicking on your ad, clicking on your what might be your organic search results, and 200 people end up coming to your website. Of those 200, let's say 20 of them, let's say you have an online registration system, and 20 of the 200 end up putting a class into their cart, or in other words, they begin the checkout process. They choose a course that they might be registering for. And then out of the 20 that do that, let's say 4 of them actually end up completing the checkout process and become enrollments in your program. So this is a hypothetical example of a marketing funnel in which case you see at each stage of it we're going to lose a significant percentage of the people that we've begun to engage with. And obviously the goal of what we're going to be talking about today is to try to lose as few people as possible, to try to get more of those people who are seeing our ad to visit our website, to get more of them to add a class to the cart, and to get more of them to then enroll. In the example that we just saw, as you can see here, we ended up with 200 visits to our website and 4 enrollments. Well, these are 2 key metrics that we might think about in online marketing, and we can actually do some division with those, and we can come up with a metric. And we'll talk a lot more about these kind of metrics later in the presentation. But in this case, this would equate to a 2% conversion rate. 200 visits, 4 enrollments, 2% of the people that visit our website in this case have actually enrolled. And so our goal then is to try to increase that conversion rate from 2% to, say, 3% or even higher. But I'm going to argue that, in fact, the 2% conversion rate is the wrong metric to be thinking about in this situation because it's a bit misleading. It's not the 2% that we're concerned about doing something with. Those are the people that are doing what we want. It's actually the 98% non-conversion rate that we're trying to affect. And I just think psychologically, thinking about, gosh, how can I double our conversion rate seems much more daunting than saying, can I lower our non-conversion rate by a couple of percents? It seems easier psychologically, and in fact, it's a more accurate way of thinking about it. So if you can get just 2 more people out of every 100 to enroll in this situation, you would be doubling your conversion rate. Okay. Now, as we talk about this, we have to be thinking about metrics. We have to be metrics are going to be at the heart of everything that we discuss in these 4 stages as we move forward. And as the great Peter Drucker once said, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. In other words, if we're going to try to improve our website's conversion rate, we have to have ways that we can measure that conversion rate, just like sports teams have ways that they are measured, both the chain, the yard line, the lines on the yardage, the goal posts, all of those are forms of measurement, and even the referees, which is more subjective measurement, but measurements are all around us. The good news about online marketing, as you can see here, unlike traditional marketing, is that online marketing is absolutely chock full of metrics. And not that we can't measure traditional marketing, as we'll talk about with radio, television, billboards, things like that, but with online marketing, everything is measured very easily, and there is no lack of different kinds of metrics to measure different kinds of things. You can see, I won't read all of these off to you. We're going to talk about probably half or more of these as we go through the presentation. But there's lots and lots of things that you can measure. The real choice is, or the challenge is, to figure out what should you measure and which measurements relate to which of the stages in this process, so that if you're trying to improve, for example, your engagement of your website, well, how can you measure that so as you begin to make changes to your website to try to improve that engagement, what kind of metrics will reflect increased engagement of the site? So in this next section of the presentation, what we'll do is we're going to take a look one by one. You can see my nice little graphics here. At each one of the stages, and think about what's the goal for that stage, what techniques can we use to try to affect our website's performance in that stage, and then how can we measure that? So what's our goal, what can we do to try to improve performance, and how do we measure that improvement as it happens? And we'll start at the beginning with awareness. So as I mentioned earlier, awareness is really, the challenge in awareness is to get your message out in front of as many people as you possibly can, as many times as you possibly can. And this is no different from traditional marketing that if you're in the marketing field you've been doing for years and years. It's just that online we have different ways of doing that. There's different approaches to try to reach as many people as we can, as often as we can. So these graphics, these pictures, are some traditional marketing approaches. So newspaper, magazine ads, you can have direct mail, billboards, television, radio, and you may use some of these to generate awareness, to make more people aware of what you offer. And nowadays, interestingly, a lot of traditional awareness channels are being used to drive people to the web. So I include these as part of the awareness phase of online marketing, because when we send out, for instance, when we work with Emory University, we help them send out their course catalog to some 65 or 70,000 people in Atlanta. We know that some of those people are going to call Emory University to register, but a large percentage of the people who receive the direct mail are going to end up on the website. So traditional awareness can drive people to our websites. And then also, we've got some of these specifically online awareness generators, things like email, pay-per-click, banner ads, organic search listings. So when someone does a search on Google, even if you're not paying for an ad, your site may come up. And these are all areas that we can manipulate, and again, that we can measure to see how well our websites are performing in terms of building awareness. Okay. So we're going to talk about this building awareness in just a moment. I'm going to launch my second poll here for you guys before we do, but I'll just mention that if we're trying to measure this awareness, ways that we can do that are through how well our websites rank on search engines, how many times a paid advertisement is being shown, whether that's a pay-per-click ad or whether that's a banner ad or some other form of paid online advertisement, and then how many times our emails that we're sending out to people are viewed. And specifically, I'm interested in how many of them are viewed versus how many we send, because not everyone opens your email. And if they don't open it, then I don't consider that awareness building because they never saw it. So let's launch our second poll for you guys. And this one's going to relate directly to what we talk about in terms of awareness building. How many of you guys track how well your website ranks, or know how well your website ranks in relation to your competitors' websites? And when I say rank, obviously I'm talking about what we call organic search optimization. In other words, when someone goes to Google or Yahoo and does a search related to what you offer, do you know how well your site comes up versus how well your competitor sites come up? So this isn't a complete surprise to me, just because I teach website design courses also, and very often the people coming to those courses are not doing this or aren't even aware of how to do this effectively. But based on our poll, well over half of people are not measuring how well their websites are ranking.